I was left out by my daughter after her 10 million win, but the name on that ticket was mine. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started out ordinary. The sun was too bright that morning. My coffee burned my tongue. I had no idea then that the world was about to shift beneath my feet. 2 days later, the news broke like glass over concrete. My daughter, Emma, had hit the jackpot. $10 million. I should have felt joy, pride, anything but the crushing wave of betrayal that hit me. She stood there, tears of happiness cascading down her cheeks, while I stood frozen, heart racing, the silence deafening between us. Emma used to call me every day. We'd laugh, share secrets, and unravel the world together. But now, it felt like an unbridgeable chasm had opened up. We were connected by blood, but it felt like she was a million miles away. The ticket bore my name, yet she held it as if I were a ghost haunting her past. The day she won, I had a strange feeling. I was restless. My hands trembled as I scrolled through my phone, and the news updates were piercing. I just knew something was off. And then there was the blackout, the abrupt loss of connection right after I called her, right before she was supposed to announce her win. I remembered the way her voice wavered when I asked about the ticket. The secrets felt heavy, swirling around us like smoke. News spread quickly, whispers turned to full-blown gossip. How could she? Echoed in my mind. Friends started to look at me oddly. Did you raise her to be so selfish? They asked. I couldn't bear the weight of their judgment, the pointed glances. And Emma? She was distant, avoiding my calls. The silence stung worse than any words that I dug through my memories, searching for the last bliss-filled moment. Had I missed something? I remembered our nights playing cards, laughing over spilled snacks and tears. And I thought of the ticket again. It felt surreal, like a dream you wake from but can't shake off. The weight of it pressed down on me harder every day. But did she even know what it felt like to win and turn her back on the one who raised her? And then came the news clip. The glitzy celebration, bright lights, and cameras flashing. Emma's face shining in the spotlight, holding that ticket like a trophy. I felt my heart sink. The sound of her laughter echoed in my mind, but the shadows of my absence clouded that warmth. I was lost, a silhouette fading into the background of her new life. Why was I being erased? The question haunted me. I deserved to celebrate too, didn't I? After all those nights of sacrifice, the worries over tuition, every scraped knee, every moment I whispered that I believed in her, that I never got a clear answer. She posted about her winnings, while I was left to contemplate my existence. Where did she draw the line? Between family and money? Between love and greed? The ticket had my name, but all I felt was loss. As I sat there, consumed by emotions, an envelope arrived. It was thick, heavy with promise, yet it felt like a stone in my hand. What if she wanted to reconcile? What if it was more betrayal? I stared at it, the weight of my heartbeat thundering loudly in my ears, and all I could think was what happens next. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With trembling fingers, I tore open the envelope, anticipation mingling with dread. The scent of paper and ink filled the air as I slipped out the letter inside. My heart raced. I felt like it was a message from another universe, one where the distance between Emma and me hadn't stretched so impossibly wide. Dear Mom, the letter began, and I felt a flicker of warmth at the simple address. But the warmth quickly faded as the words continued, each line piercing me with sharper clarity. She wrote about her win, speaking of dreams fulfilled and new adventures on the horizon, her words overflowing with excitement that felt both intoxicating and suffocating. But then, she shifted. "I need space, Mom. I've learned that this money has changed everything." The term space echoed ominously in my thoughts. It was the same term she used when she first moved out, claiming she needed independence. Now, it felt like she was severing ties altogether under the guise of ambition. As I read, tears blurred my vision. I could feel her joy radiating from the ink, but with it came an overwhelming wave of exclusion. How could she celebrate while leaving behind the very hands that nurtured her? Memories flooded my mind, her first steps, the sleepless nights, the laughter we had shared. And now, I was riding the sidelines, an abandoned spectator against the backdrop of her triumph. That I clutched the letter tighter, furious at her for pushing me away, yet yearning to understand. She ended with a short sentence that left me breathless: "I hope you can find happiness too, Mom." Was that genuine concern or a final closure? Days turned into weeks, my heart a battleground. I kept the letter in a frame on my kitchen counter, a daily reminder of what we had lost. I was desperate to reach out, to bridge the gap, but each time I picked up my phone, doubt wormed its way into my resolve. What if she didn't want to hear from me? Just as the weight of despair began to settle, something unexpected happened. I was at the grocery store, lost in thought, when an elderly woman reached out and touched my arm gently. Her eyes were so kind, like they had seen years of love and heartache. "You look like a woman who's carrying heavy burdens," she said softly. Those words, their sincerity melted the walls I'd built around my heart. I poured out my heart to her, revealing the core of my sorrow and my daughter's distant success. To my surprise, she listened intently, her gaze unwavering. Finally, she placed a comforting hand on my shoulder and said, "Sometimes, it's the smallest gestures that can carry the most weight. Don't give up on love, dear." Feeling seen and understood for the first time in weeks, I mustered the courage to send a simple text to Emma that evening. "I miss you. I hope we can talk." It felt like a shot in the dark, but the slightest flicker of hope ignited within me. Days passed, and I heard nothing. My heart began to sink into despair once more, only to be lifted again by reminders of kindness from strangers. A barista once waved off my coffee bill with a smile that lit up my day. A neighbor offered to help with chores just to keep me company. Each moment of unexpected kindness coaxed me out of my loneliness, even if briefly, but then, just when I thought about giving up completely, the truth exploded like a fiery comet. While cleaning the attic one rainy afternoon, I stumbled upon an old scrap of paper, a forgotten note from Emma when she was 8. "I love you, Mom, even on the days when I'm a little brat," it read, accompanied by a crayon-drawn sun. I clutched it tightly, wishing with every fiber of my being to see that little girl again, the one who believed we could conquer the world together, and then my phone buzzed. I glanced down, heart racing, and saw her name. My breath caught. "Can we talk?" it read. I could hardly contain the storm of emotions as I pressed my thumb to the screen, hovering over my reply. Before I could respond, another notification came in. It was a news alert that made my blood run cold: local lottery winner's daughter under investigation for suspicious activity. My heart sank. Suddenly, it felt like our hope was teetering on the edge of an abyss. What if everything I thought I knew about Emma and her win had been a lie? The news alert blared from my phone like a siren, drowning out the sound of my own heartbeat. I felt the familiar weight of despair squeezing my chest, the air growing thin as I tried to comprehend what was unfolding before me. I blinked twice at the screen, the words blurring into a confusing haze. Local lottery winner's daughter under investigation for suspicious activity. I read it again, my mind racing. What did this mean? Was Emma's win a fraud? Had her ambition led her into the murky waters of deceit? Fragments of the letter she had sent me flashed through my mind, her excitement, her desire for independence, and they were tinged with an unsettling finality now. This investigation could unravel everything that I believed, not just about her win, but about the very fabric of our relationship. Without thinking, I dialed the number for the news outlet. I needed to know more. As the line rang, a single thought pulsed through my mind: what if this was all a cruel twist of fate? What if I had cheered for a success built on shaky ground, hoping for a reconciliation that might never come? Hello. A chipper voice answered, far too bright for the storm circulating within me. That I saw the article about Emma, I stammered, desperation creeping into my voice. What do you know? Is she in trouble? How serious is it? The journalist took a moment before answering. We're still gathering information, but there are allegations of manipulation surrounding her claim to the winnings. We're yet to confirm anything, but the police are looking into it. I felt the world tilt beneath me. Questions swirled in my mind. Was she involved? Would she even reach out to me when she faced this turmoil? I raised my trembling hand to my mouth, trying to stem the tide of fear threatening to spill over. My daughter has just begun building a life for herself. I couldn't imagine her stepping into darkness. Is there a chance she could be innocent? I mean, she's still so young, she might have been misled, I pressed, my voice catching. Anything is possible, ma'am. But you might want to brace yourself for what's ahead. Media tend to exaggerate, but the police investigations are serious. As I hung up, the weight of the call suffocated me. I needed to talk to Emma immediately, to check if she was okay, to bury this chasm that had opened up between us one more time. Quickly, I typed out a new message, my hands shaking with urgency. I'm sorry for what I said earlier. Can we meet? Please, it's important. Moments stretched into eternity as the familiar sensation of waiting crept back in. I paced my living room, glancing at the clock. I expected the notification to chime any second, but it remained silent. The sadness encroached once more, wrapping around me like a heavy cloak. Just then, the doorbell echoed, jolting me from my spiral of anxiety. My heart raced again. Perhaps this was Emma. Hoping against hope, I opened the door to find Mrs. Ramirez, the elderly woman from the grocery store. She stood there, her silver-gray hair gleaming like a halo against the evening light, a canvas bag filled with fresh pastries in her hands. Oh, dear, she exclaimed softly, her wrinkles forming a sympathetic network as her eyes met mine. I had a feeling you could use a friend today. Before I could respond, her simple act of kindness drew the tears I had been holding back. I stepped aside, letting her in, and soon we settled on the couch, the scent of warm cinnamon enveloping us in the dim light. That I am worried about my daughter, I confessed, my voice trembling as I recounted the storm brewing in my world. She's being investigated, and I don't understand why. Mrs. Ramirez listened with rapt attention, her hand gently squeezing mine. In that moment, I felt less alone. She shared her own stories of fear and hope, speaking of family and how love could weather even the darkest storms, but as the conversation flowed, a thought struck me like a bolt of lightning. What if I'm not meant to reach her? I whispered, tears spilling over. What if this is all a sign that I should just let go? No, darling, she said fiercely, her eyes sharp and determined. Love is worth fighting for, no matter the distance or the challenges. That I gazed into her warm, kind eyes, and for the first time that day, I felt a flicker of possibility. With the lingering weight of doubt still heavy in my heart, I made a sudden decision. Taking a deep breath, I would reach out again. But first, something else gnawed at me, a fear that had rested in the back of my mind, growing as the news spiraled further out of control. That ticket, the one Emma won with it, had my name on it. Did she even know? I blurted, feeling an old pain resurrect within me. It dawned on me like a cruel jest. Perhaps her entire fortune, the promise of a new life, had been sparked from my own dreams. Mrs. Ramirez's expression twisted in deep concern. You must confront this, dear. You deserve answers, especially when the truth can mend those ties you both desperately need. Just as I resolved to dig deeper, my phone buzzed again, this time vibrating ominously in my pocket. My heart seized in fear as I pulled it out, my mind racing with endless possibilities. But as I glanced at the screen, my breath caught. It was a video call, her face illuminated and fuzzy on the screen. I stumbled at the sight. Emma was calling me. The moment hung suspended as dread warred with hope. Would this conversation reinforce my fears, or spark a new beginning. Mom, can we talk? Her voice was distant but clear, shattering the silence like glass. My heart conflicted, every anxious fiber of my being screamed for me to answer, yet an unforgettable dread loomed just beneath the surface. I stood at the precipice, the unknown pulling me closer, as I took a resolute breath and pressed accept. As I accepted the call, Emma's face materialized on my phone screen, her expression taut with uncertainty. Time seemed to pause as I absorbed every pixel of her image, the way her hair fell across her forehead, how the weight of her current predicament seemed to settle in shadows beneath her eyes. Mom, she breathed, her voice laced with a mixture of relief and fear. I'm so glad to hear from you. Emma, I began, the words catching in my throat, each breath feeling like a weighted anchor threatening to pull me under. I saw the news. What's happening? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Well, sort of. A hapless smile crept across her face, but it didn't reach her eyes. The truth hit me, my daughter was desperately trying to grasp onto normalcy. There's so much I need to explain. Emma, you don't have to explain anything to me. Just tell me the truth. What's going on? My own voice trembled, echoing the worry that spiraled inside me, fear twisted with the hope that maybe she hadn't crossed a line I couldn't follow her back from. She swallowed hard, her gaze dropping momentarily. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Mom, the ticket, it was supposed to bring us together, not push us apart. I thought. Her voice faltered, the facade cracking under the pressures of harsh reality. What did you think? I pressed, struggling to remain composed, my chest a cage of thickening emotions. Please, talk to me. Emma inhaled deeply and let the air out slowly, as if preparing to descend into vaguer territory. I thought winning would show you I could take care of things on my own. I thought if I could just prove myself, prove yourself. But, Emma, you've always had my belief. I never doubted you. A blink of disbelief washed over her, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through. You don't understand. After everything that happened between us before I moved on, I was trying to erase the past. I didn't want to be the daughter you always worried about. Worrying about you is part of being a mother, sweetheart. How could I ever stop? My throat was tight, my chest aching as I saw the fragile facade she was clinging to. But this investigation, I didn't do anything wrong, she interjected quickly, a defensive edge in her tone. But you have to know how hard it is to be thrust into the spotlight like this. I was just enjoying my life. I wanted to make good choices and be different, and now this. The tears slid down her cheeks, and my heart shattered at the sight. I know you wanted to change your life, Emma. And winning the lottery was a miracle. But are these claims true? Are you involved in something dangerous? I searched her eyes, desperate for any hint of untruth. I've made mistakes, but nothing illegal. She insisted, her voice firm. People are circling, looking for any reason to take me down. It's like being in a cage with no way out. Everything feels so out of my control. I just want you to believe me. Suddenly, a thought struck me, one I hadn't voiced yet out of fear. There's something I need to tell you. The ticket, it had my name on it too, Emma. My heart raced as I gauged her reaction, desperate for understanding. What do you mean? It had your name. She blinked in surprise, confusion knitting her brows closer together. That I only found out just now. I thought you had done this solely on your own. But then I realized the weight of that ticket was somehow tied to both of us. The burden of so many unspoken fears and regrets swirled between us, electrifying the air. Mom, she whispered, a flicker of comprehension lighting up her face. Then that means our fates are connected. The investigation, who else knew? Just as her words triggered an unsettling realization, a knock interrupted the moment, sharp and demanding. My heart sank as I recognized the ominous sound. My gut twisted. It was the police. They came like shadows, casting darkness through the cracks of our already fragile connection. Emma, I have to go. I think they're here. My voice trembled, laden with dread. What? Mom, no. Please don't. Before I could respond, I heard the doorknob turning in the distance, my thoughts spiraling out of control. What if this was the moment everything unraveled? Stay safe, I whispered back, pressing the end call button just seconds before the door swung wide open, revealing two officers standing on my threshold. Their uniforms seemed to absorb the light around them, leaving only concern in their eyes a foreboding that mirrored the chaos unfolding in my heart. "Ma'am, we need to ask you a few questions about your daughter," one said, his tone grave. As I stood facing them, the weight of our shared secrets hung heavily in the air. Unanswered questions echoed in my mind, the boundary between truth and treachery blurring with each heartbeat. "Please, come in," I whispered, the world turning on its axis as my heart raced toward an uncertain fate, the battle for Emma's innocence just beginning. The officers entered my home like a gust of cold wind, slick with authority, their presence stark against the warm hues of the walls decorated with memories of simpler times. I stepped back, suddenly aware of how fragile the veneer of my life had become, the comfortable living room transformed into a stage for a suspenseful interrogation. "Ma'am," the taller officer said, his eyes scanning the room, assessing each detail. "We need to clarify some events surrounding your daughter, Emma, and her recent lottery win." I could feel the walls closing in on me, the air thick with implications. "What do you need to know?" I forced the words out, each syllable rattling with anxiety. "The investigation we're conducting isn't just a standard inquiry. There are allegations about how the money has been obtained and a possible connection to illegal activities." His words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, as my heart sank further. My mind raced back to Emma's face, the shadows beneath her eyes, the desperation in her voice. "That can't be true," I protested weakly. "She's not involved in anything illegal. She was a bright girl who wanted to do better for herself." The second officer pulled out a notepad. "We understand that. But you must also understand that winning such a large sum has drawn attention, powerful attention. It's essential we explore all angles." "When was the last time you spoke with her?" "Just a few minutes ago," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "She called me, frantic. She's scared." "Did she mention anyone specific? Any interactions that seemed suspicious?" The taller officer pressed, his voice low but firm, as if I were a reluctant witness to something insidious. That I hesitated, the memory of Emma's words twisting in my mind. "No. She was just trying to defend herself against what's happening in the media." "The claims," the second officer interrupted, "this is serious, ma'am. If Emma is in over her head, we need to know if there's any chance she's being threatened, coerced, or manipulated in any way." My pulse quickened. "You don't understand. She's always tried to be independent. She wanted to show me she could manage on her own. Perhaps she didn't think I'd believe in her choices." A softer gaze passed between the two officers, a flicker of shared understanding, but they were not here to offer comfort. They were here for the truth, and I wondered, with growing trepidation, what that truth might cost us. One officer continued, "With your name tied to that ticket, that increases the stakes. If you have any information, it's crucial that you share it. We need to understand if Emma might be making decisions that put her at risk." I swallowed hard. My instinct screamed to protect her, to shield her from everything swirling around the investigation, yet I felt the weight of their questions pushing me closer to a precipice. "What do you want me to say?" I didn't know she was using the ticket for anything more than just a chance to fulfill dreams. They exchanged glances again, the silence stretching between us like taut wire, waiting to snap. "If she is involved in something dangerous, you need to encourage her to come forward, to seek help. She won't be alone, we can assist her, but we have to act fast." Desperation clawed at my throat. "You think she's in danger? I won't let her get hurt. I need to see her. I need to protect her." The officers obviously felt my urgency, yet remained stoic. "You may not be able to protect her if she's indeed crossed a line into something deeper. We alleviate our work but also show the facets of complex lives. If you get a chance to speak with her again, advise her to be honest. We can't help if we're kept in the dark." Just as I nodded, the sound of my phone buzzing sent shockwaves through the air, a lifeline in a room growing colder by the second. I fumbled briefly for it, my pulse quickening as I saw Emma's name on the screen. "Please," I whispered, looking back at the officers, I need to take this." They exchanged a nod, their faces an unreadable mask, but the tension was almost palpable. I stepped outside, pressing the phone to my ear with a shaking hand. "Emma. Are you okay? The police are here, and they're asking questions." A choked sound met my ear, a coarse whispering filled with panic. "Mom, too think they're here looking for me. I'm scared. I don't know who to trust anymore." "Emma, listen to me carefully. The officers said they want to help you, but you have to be honest with them. This isn't just about the ticket, things are unraveling, and you need to be safe. I'll help you however I can, but you must tell them the truth." "Mom, you don't understand," she sobbed, and my heart fractured anew at the sound of my daughter's anguish. "There are things I've done that I didn't want you to know." "What things, Emma? Just tell me." My voice cracked, torn between fear and love. "That I can't," she cried, the rawness of her panic echoing in my ears. "If I do, you won't understand. It'll change everything and then you'll be in danger too." Before I could respond, a sound from the front porch made my heart freeze. A knock, heavy and insistent. I glanced back toward the door where the two officers were waiting, their faces shrouded in stoic determination. The room grew thick with uncertainty, and I knew that whatever came next could tear our lives apart. "Emma," I began again, but she cut me off with a choked whisper. "Mom, I just wanted you to be proud of me, but now, it's spiraling out of control. Let me in, please." I begged, not just for her, but for us, for the chance to safeguard our bond woven together by love and tears, but the darkness on the other side of the door rose up to swallow us both, and suddenly, everything felt like it was teetering on the brink of collapse. With a shock, I realized that answers were not just outside the door but trapped in the shadows of Emma's unfolding truth. The air felt heavy with unanswered questions as I clutched my phone, straining to hear Emma's quaking breath. My mind raced, treading the narrow path between panic and reassurance. "Emma, please, I need you to trust me," I urged, my voice thick with emotion. "Whatever's happening, we'll face it together. You're my everything. But I can't help you if you don't tell me what's going on." Her silence was deafening, filled only with muffled sobs, the kind that echoed the weight of secrets that threatened to bury us both. I knew there was something lurking beneath the surface of her fear. We had always shared our dreams, our fears. Why had this moment turned her against me? "Emma, what are you involved in? You don't have to face this alone," I pressed, trying to break through the wall that had risen between us. "I wanted to be independent, Mom," she finally exclaimed, her voice hoarse. "I thought if I just kept my head down, if I didn't bother you with my problems." "Emma, you have never bothered me. I want to take care of you, that's my job. Please, don't shut me out now." A trembling silence followed, then the faint sound of her voice emerged, Aga, in a whisper wrapped in anguish. I can't explain right now. They're watching me." "Who? Who's watching you?" I demanded, my heart racing at the thought of unfamiliar shadows looming over my daughter. "The people, the ones who helped me with the ticket. They've been asking questions, threatening to tell you things. I didn't want them to drag you into this," she cried, a plea dripping with desperation. "Emma, you think I could ever walk away from you? I'd do anything to keep you safe." I felt the desperation clawing at my throat. "You have to let me in. I love you, Mom. I don't want to hurt you, but I might already have." Her voice cracked, and I could hear the wreckage of her tumultuous choices. The knock at the door resounded again, impatient and hard, like an executioner's countdown ticking away the seconds until a verdict would be cast, and both of our fates would hang in the balance. "Emma, I have to go," I whispered urgently, glancing back at the officers who had pushed through the threshold of my life uninvited. "Please, stay safe. Can you find somewhere hidden? I'll never give up on you, Mom," she cried, her voice thick with urgency. "I need you to promise me that you'll protect yourself. I can't stand the thought of you getting hurt because of me. I promise, I said, though fear tight in my throat made it hard to breathe. I felt the relentless urge to protect her pulse in my wounds, a mother's heart shattered yet intact, cross-hatched with determination. Suddenly, the door swung open, and the officers stepped forward, their expressions rigid, reading the exchange on my face. "Ma'am, we need to speak with you now," the taller officer said, his urgency reminiscent of a storm rolling in. "Emma, I'll call you back. Stay safe." The call ended, leaving a void I desperately wished to fill. Even as new threats closed in, the officers moved in closer, their imposing presence casting a long shadow over my nerves. "We need to inspect your daughter's communications. Did she mention anyone by name?" My heart shuddered. I felt the truth whirl dangerously close to the edge of betrayal. "And no," I stammered, my mind desperately searching for a way to shield her from the mounting pressure. She's just scared." The second officer stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Ma'am, listen. Your daughter's safety depends on transparency. If there are those involved who may harm her, you must share what you know." The urgency in his tone heightened my fear, and I shook my head, feeling the churning in my stomach as the gravity of our reality sunk deeper. "I don't know anything except that she won the lottery without a dark past tied to it. I don't know why people are threatening her. You have to believe me." "That may not matter much at this point," said the officer, his eyes piercing through my confusion. "Your daughter may be in the hot seat, and we can't protect someone if we don't know what we're protecting them from." The truth was starting to swirl into view like an approaching storm, fraying all the threads holding my world together. But then, a small glimmer of hope emerged in the unexpected form of a neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, who had quietly arrived at her doorstep, cup of tea in hand. "Is everything all right, dear?" she asked gently, sensing the tension. "Mrs. Jensen," I called, suddenly clutching at this small kindness like a lifeline. Could you stay here for just a moment?" Unbeknownst to me what I would face next, I took solace in her presence, a comforting reminder of the community I cherished, even among the chaos. I turned my attention back to the officers, my resolve steeling. "If Emma is in trouble, if there's even a sliver of truth that may endanger her, I'll help you figure it out. But don't subpoena me in front of the neighbors. Let's talk privately." As they glanced at each other, a facade of relief washed over their hardened faces, but I could see hesitation beneath it, their own emotional conflicts threatening to spill out. "Very well," the officer said carefully, tilting his head slightly toward the doorway, where the light from the setting sun cast long silhouettes at our feet. Mrs. Jensen, sensing the turn of events, stepped aside as I turned my gaze back to the unbroken horizon of possibilities around us, but dread twisted within me as I realized that soon, all barriers keeping me away from Emma's truth would shatter. As the officers led me away from the warmth of the living room, away from my retreat of cherished memories, I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that what lay ahead was fraught with deeper dangers than I had ever imagined. The horizon was darkening, and shadows began to close in on the hope I so desperately clung to, and just as we stepped outside into the rising dusk, my phone buzzed again in my pocket. It was a text from Emma, and as I read the words, icy fear wrapped around my heart. "Mom, I think someone's watching me right now." The evening light flickered like a dying star, and the grand tapestry of our lives felt as fragile as an unspooled thread, ready to unravel at any moment. The realization crashed over me: we were no longer just mother and daughter but players in a perilous game with unseen adversaries lurking in the shadows, waiting to make their move. The feeling of dread coiled tighter around my chest as I struggled to process Emma's latest text. "Mom, I think someone's watching me right now." The weight of it settled in my bones, cold and relentless, as the officers shifted beside me, their presence suddenly feeling more protective than punitive. "Ma'am," the taller officer said, breaking through my spiraling thoughts. His brow furrowed with concern, contrasting sharply with my own mounting terror. "Are you all right?" I nodded numbly, though I was far from being okay. The bustling street behind me felt distant, muted, as if I had entered a world where time slowed and only Emma's safety mattered. My eyes darted back to my phone, half expecting her to follow up with another desperate message. "Can we go somewhere private?" I demanded, the urgency in my voice echoing the heartache I felt. The officer exchanged a glance with his partner, but I could see the flicker of understanding pass between them, the kind that exists among those who have seen too much. Moments later, they guided me down a narrow alleyway beside the house, where the chaos of the street was muffled just enough to hear the sharp crinkle of paper in my trembling hands. The fading light cast long shadows on the brick walls around us, intensifying the isolation I felt, as if the entire world had shrunk to this moment. This conversation, you need to tell us everything you know about your daughter's situation, the second officer said, quietly yet firmly. We can't help her if you're holding back. That I am not holding back. I snapped. But I don't understand what's happening. This was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance for Emma to find her footing. But now it's like everything is crashing down around us. The rawness of my fear bubbled to the surface. Then help us understand. You mentioned the ticket. What do you know about it? Who helped her? His tone had softened, reaching out for some shred of trust one was reluctant to give. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to articulate the truth marred by confusion and distress. She mentioned someone helping her get her lottery ticket, that they were almost, I don't know, like friends from a shadowy place. She didn't think it was anything but a harmless gesture. But now my voice broke, the weight of my helplessness suffocating me. The officers exchanged another look, their brows knit with concern as they scribbled in their notepads. Ma'am, if she won the lottery, she may have inadvertently attracted unwanted attention. Sometimes the people involved in such scenarios have connections we would classify as dangerous. That I felt the sting in their words as a shiver ran through me. Dangerous? What kind of danger? Emma wouldn't be involved in anything illegal. She's just a girl who wanted a better life, perhaps, he acknowledged, his gaze unwavering. But those better lives often come with strings attached, especially with money like that. If your daughter is being watched, we need to act quickly. My stomach twisted at the possibility that Emma might be in the grips of something I couldn't protect her from. My thoughts raced back to our conversations about dreams, about hope. They now felt naive, overshadowed by her very real fears. Just then, my phone vibrated in my pocket again. Heart racing, I fished it out, unsure whether I should hope for a comforting message or brace myself for a new wave of dread. The screen lit up with another text from Emma. I can't hide for long. There's a meeting tonight. They're starting to catch on. What do you mean? A meeting? I typed back, barely able to catch my breath as I scrambled to make sense of her words. The officers peered over my shoulder, urgency radiating from them. Mom, I can't explain over text. Just know that if I don't show, they'll come looking for me. I'm scared. I think they want something from me. Beneath the surface of her words, I felt a familiar echo, the sensation of helplessness gripping my heart and threatening to render me immobile. Listen carefully, Emma, I texted, each word intentional and deliberate. Whatever they want from you, don't give in. Just get to a safe place. Please. You can trust me that we need to go to her now, one of the officers insisted, breaking my concentration. If she's in immediate danger, we can't waste time. Wait. I pleaded, holding back panic. She's going to an underground meeting. If she's afraid they'll find out she's talking to the police, it could worsen everything. Ma'am, the officer said firmly, we need to act, but we can do this cautiously. Well, go together. Do you know where this meeting is? The chaos swirled around us as my thoughts raced. I recalled a faint memory of Emma mentioning an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, someplace she thought was a meetup spot. Yes, I think I do, but it's a dark area, and it could be dangerous. Before I could finish, the officer grabbed my arm lightly. Well, go in force. Your daughter may already be in over her head, and we need to ensure she makes it out safely. But we need your help. You can't hesitate. The sudden momentum urged me into action, igniting a chain of events I wished to avoid, but couldn't bear to stand idle in the face of danger. Okay, let's go, I said, fear mixed with hope, an unsteady blend of anxious anticipation driving me to face whatever lay ahead. Just as the officers began to lead me back toward the street, my phone buzzed once more. The anxiety in my chest pinched as I braced myself for another message. But this time, it wasn't Emma's name flashing on the screen. It was a number I didn't recognize. The message, simple yet chilling, sent a surge of ice through my veins. stay away from the warehouse. You have no idea what you're getting into. The ground felt as if it had shifted beneath me, swallowing every ounce of comfort I had clung to. My heart raced, and as I glanced at the officers, I realized the enormity of our predicament had just intensified. The daylight waned, but the shadows were only beginning to rise, and beneath them lay secrets I was unprepared to confront. Who is this? I whispered shakily, the threat lingering in the air like suffocating fog. The officers stopped on hearing my voice, watching, sensing the change that had taken hold of our reality. Fear settled deeper in my bones as I realized this was no longer just about Emma's lottery win. It had become a battle not only for her life but our very existence, as we faced an enemy whose strength was shrouded in mystery. With each passing moment, the heaviness in my chest intensified, as if my heart was beating against an invisible wall that threatened to crumble. The officers stood alert, their attention fixed on me, sensing the terror coursing through my veins as I recoiled from the screen of my phone. Deep down, I knew we had stumbled into something much larger than what I could fathom. "Ma'am, we need that message. Can you show us?" The taller officer urged, his calm demeanor shaking slightly in the face of my growing panic. That I bit my lip, my fingers trembling as I gripped the phone, reluctant to share the threat that rattled my mind. "It just happened," I managed to murmur, and as I turned the screen toward them, the words burned into my thoughts: "Stay away from the warehouse." The officers exchanged grim looks, their expressions darkening as they processed the implications. "This is serious," the second officer said, voice gruff. "Whoever sent this is aware of your daughter's situation, which puts her at higher risk." That I felt like I was dissolving, panic creeping into the corners of my imagination. I can't lose her. She's all that matters to me." The words spilled from my lips, raw and unrefined, as I struggled against the tide of fear rolling in. "Then we move quickly and carefully," the taller officer insisted, his brow furrowing with determination. "We're going to need a lead. If the sender knows her, they may have information we can use. Maybe it's someone from her new life or friends." I proposed weakly, fear intertwining with reckless hope. "She didn't have many real friends before. Maybe this is someone she trusts. Could you name anyone?" The second officer pressed. The memory of Emma's beaming face when she talked about her new friends flashed before my eyes. "There was a girl," I recalled, my voice trembling, "Maria. She was excited to meet her, said she knew the right people she could help Emma connect with." "Good. Any contact details?" I could feel my stomach twisting as I tried to recall any piece of information. "I think she might be on social media. But I wouldn't know where to start." A flurry of activity erupted as the officers initiated a plan, whispering instructions, and resetting their focus. Yet, amid their urgency, I felt a sinking sense of hopelessness wash over me. I could hardly concentrate on their strategy when my mind was consumed by the fragility of our situation. "Let's go get her," I urged, voice cracking with desperation, as if the force of my plea might somehow bend reality to my will. As we ventured back toward the street, the weight of the evening darkness seemed to press against us, amplifying my sense of dread. The chaos of the day faded into shadows, the murmur of the city growing distant as my thoughts spiraled towards paranoia. What if Emma was trapped in a world she couldn't escape? What if those she wanted to trust betrayed her? In the car, I shifted anxiously in my seat, unable to still my racing heart. The officers were calm, formulating their approach, but I felt like a pressure cooker ready to burst. "Emma needs us," I reminded them, the tightness in my chest a constant reminder of the urgency. They nodded, resolute. "We'll do everything we can, but we must proceed with caution. The last thing we want is to scare her or the people involved." The streetlights blurred past as the adrenaline coursed through me, yet my mind began to whir, searching for answers in the chaos. Each faint sound, every whisper of the wind growing cold against my skin heightened my sense of foreboding. The threat felt personal now, not just to Emma, but to me as well. As we drew closer to the warehouse, unease coiled tighter around me as if it had come alive. Something, an instinct, urged me to turn back, yet, I knew I wouldn't let fear dictate my actions. I'd do anything to protect her. Arriving at the desolate structure, the officers began organizing their approach, every movement purposeful, every word measured. Though they projected confidence, I couldn't shake the feeling gnawing at the edge of my consciousness. My daughter me Emma, so vibrant and full of life was. Somewhere within these cold, abandoned walls, possibly facing a threat beyond her understanding, stay close, one of the officers instructed, and the foreboding atmosphere pressed heavier against my skin. I edged closer to the opening, my resolve hardening. This was no longer just about Emma's safety, it was about confronting whatever darkness lay in the shadows and clawing my way back into her light. As the officers proceeded and my heart raced, I strained to hear any sign of my daughter. Suddenly, a muffled shout echoed from within, causing my heart to drop. My body froze, caught in paralysis as dread swelled like a tide, pulling me back into terror. Emma! I screamed, fear igniting my very core. There was no way I could stand idle while she was out there. How do you know she's in there? One officer shouted back, but I barely heard him. The desperation to reach her was all-consuming. At that moment, out of the shadows emerged a figure, half-hidden, cloaked in darkness. My stomach dropped as recognition washed over me. Emma! I called, hope surging through me, only to be met by fear painted on her face, but instead of rushing to me, she hesitated, and the figure beside her, Maria, whispered something urgently in her ear. Emma, please. I pleaded, heart racing. What's happening? Please come back to me. Emma looked at me, eyes wide but fearful, shaking her head slowly as she backed away further into the night. Mom, you really shouldn't have come here, she whispered, voice trembling beneath a weight I could hardly comprehend. In that moment, the world around me spun, and then I heard an ominous sound of footsteps behind me, accompanied by a low, chilling laughter that split the air. As I turned, my breath caught in my throat. The shadows shifting around us were coming to life, and I knew deep down that this was just the beginning of something far more dangerous than I had ever imagined. The air crackled with a tension that felt almost electric, and every instinct in me screamed to retreat. The sight of Emma huddled behind Maria, figure who had appeared so innocuous just moments before, turned my heart to ice. The laughter behind me tightened like a vice around my throat. I was teetering on the edge of something profound and terrifying, and nobody seemed to be in control. Mom, leave! Emma shouted, her voice echoing off the warehouse walls. You don't understand. Please, just go. With every heartbeat, the pulse of fear drummed louder in my ears. Emma, I'm not leaving you. I cried out, hope crashing against the cold stone of reality. You don't have to be afraid. Just come with me. Maria stepped forward, a barrier between Emma and me, her expression suddenly fierce. She knows what she's doing. You can't just walk in here and disrupt everything. Her voice held an edge I had not expected, authority forged perhaps by familiarity with whatever storm was brewing around us. Emma. I reached for her, desperate to bridge the distance, but it felt as if the ground, this moment was shifting beneath me into something unrecognizable. Just tell me what's going on. We can solve this together. Behind me, the laughter escalated, and I refused to let that sound drown out my daughter's voice. You're not safe here, Mom. You have to believe me. Emma's eyes were wide with something raw, fear or defiance, I couldn't tell, but it was palpable, clawing at me with the ferocity of a mother's instinct. In that heart-stopping moment, I saw Hermie, sweet Emma, caught in a delicate web of friendships and choices, and I realized how little I truly understood about this new life she had constructed around herself. Was Maria an ally, or a figure wrapped in shadows that I couldn't see, like what lurked in the corners of my mind? I know it seems like I'm being dramatic, but you don't know who you're dealing with. Emma continued, her voice quaking as she shared a fleeting glance with Maria. You need to trust me. Please. Just then, the footsteps grew louder, and anxiety flared to an unbearable peak. I had to forge ahead, had to break through the wall Maria represented. If you're in danger, Emma, I'll fight for you. I exclaimed, fierce desperation cutting through the heaviness of the night. At that moment, a sliver of hope pierced my fear, a fleeting glimpse of hesitation in Emma's stance. For one heartbeat, it felt as if she might take a step toward me. My heart leaped, and I breathed, please, as though those words alone could span the divide of misunderstanding between us. Maria, sensing the shift, tightened her grip on Emma's arm. You have to listen to me, it's not that simple. You can't just trust her blindly. Her insistence rang with an urgency that only fueled my resolve. A voice broke through the tension from behind me, the officers moving closer, their presence a protective barrier in this tumultuous landscape. "Ma'am, we're going in to get her," one officer announced, his tone firm, but still it felt like sand slipping through fingers. "We can provide help. Please just trust us," but the ache in my heart screamed louder than anything. Time felt suspended, stretching taut like a wire ready to snap. I felt it, the fine line between desperation and fear in the air, and the impending threat growing more tangible. In that charged moment, as Emma's eyes darted between me and Maria, I realized something was off beyond the immediate danger. Emma's mere presence behind that threshold, shrouded in uncertainty, was a revelation I could scarcely bear. The laughter surged again, closer now, a sinister cloak tightening around us, darkening the world outside of the flickering shadows. "You should have stayed away," it cooed, the voice mocking, dripping with malice. And then, as if it needed further elaboration, a tall figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against the dim lighting of the warehouse, a man whose gaze locked onto mine, and recognition surged like ice through my veins, paralyzing me with an unspeakable truth. "Mom," Emma's voice trembled, "you have to go now," but the man took another step forward, the light glinting off something metallic he's holding. "Why don't we talk, After all, this is all about family, isn't it?" Everything began to spiral. I felt the thread of my heart frayed, unraveling as I connected the pieces: a name, an association, and a secret buried deep, forcing me to question everything I had ever believed. In that moment, realization hit with the heavy weight of betrayal. Whatever bond one thought I had with my daughter, it was about to be shattered. Because suddenly, I was no longer just fighting for Emma's safety. I was fighting to keep my family whole amidst a storm of hidden truths that threatened to engulf us all. I stood frozen, the shadows around me stretching, warping my reality until all I could see was the figure before me. Daniel, man I thought had been a whisper in the past, a name I barely spoke anymore. He stared back, his smirk darker than the night cloaking us, his presence a reminder of an era long since buried. My breath quickened as my heart battled to understand. "What are you doing here?" My voice quivered, a blend of shock and rage coursing through me. "We're having a family reunion, aren't we?" He replied, amusement dancing in his eyes, as if he were watching a tragic play unfold. "Didn't think I'd ever get the chance to meet the daughter you so willingly gave up. You know, Emma's always been special. She had that ticket printed in your name for a reason." I flinched at the implication, heart sinking deeper as I sensed the weight of his words. "What do you want from her?" I almost choked, trying to suppress the rising fear that threatened to consume me. Daniel stepped forward, inching into the light and revealing the true coldness of his smile. "She needs guidance, darling," he said, theatrically stretching his arms wide. "People like us, we steer the ship. You think she's capable of handling this newfound fortune? Oh, trust me, I would hate to see it go to waste. The people involved in winning that lottery? They're all connected. A network of opportunity, a family if you will. No longer just a memory." His words filled the atmosphere between us, each syllable cutting deeper. "You left us," I blurted out, desperation surging back again. "You chose to walk away, and now you dare come back into her life." Emma stood between us, torn yet resolute, her voice caught in a web of uncertainty. "I don't need him, I don't want any part of this," she began to state, but Maria cut her off. "Emma. This isn't the time. We have a choice to make, and we're stronger together." "Maybe you should listen to your new friends," Daniel interjected, a sinister edge sharpening his voice. "They seem to think they know what's best for you. But you don't know the real game that's being played. You're merely a pawn playing someone else's strategy." Panic erupted inside me. If he was right, had there been a web of lies surrounding my daughter's success yet again? "Emma!" I cried out, taking a step towards her. "You don't have to listen to him. We can get through this together. You don't need anyone else. You have me. Mom, please." She begged, her eyes flooding with unshed tears. You don't understand. I thought I could handle things. I wanted to prove myself. When I won that ticket, it felt like I had finally done something meaningful. But now. Her voice broke as she struggled to formulate that elusive, heavy thought resting just below the surface that I felt my heart shatter as if hearing her acknowledge the connection that had always existed between Yuziet had been twisted by Daniel's influence. Emma, you have done something monumental. But trust certainly comes first, we just need to face this together against whatever darkness is lurking, I urged desperately, then suddenly, the laughter picked up in a cacophony of voices swelling into a taunting chorus, drowning out our conversation and echoing through the warehouse. It's too late. Daniel called, confidence radiating off him. You think you can protect her? She needs the right people around her to thrive. She's found them, and now you're just the storm threatening to ruin our little secret. Secret? I echoed, helplessness washing over me. My mind raced to grasp the meaning, struggling against the tide that threatened to pull us apart. Emma, I broke in urgently, connect with me right now. What's going on? He's lying. Just talk to me. Emma's gaze flickered between my pleading eyes and Daniel's cunning smile. I don't know who to trust anymore. She cried, anguish threading through her voice until I could hardly bear to hear it. Stop this, Maria hissed, shoving herself protectively in front of Emma. We don't need you, Daniel. We can find our own path. This is ours. With adrenaline pumping through my veins, I saw that divide burn between their alliances, knowing all too well the danger that lay ahead. Now, Emma. I cried out again. I believe in you. You must see that. Whatever your plans are, if it leads to him, you deserve better. Just as I spoke, Daniel's expression darkened, a flash of irritation creeping into his mirth. Enough. None of you seem to understand the stakes. He barked, his patience thinning. I've played this game long enough to know when things go south, and that's when people get hurt. In that moment, I confronted the truth, it was not just about Emma. It was about my past colliding with a present I desperately wanted to protect, tangled with danger from a man who had left us long ago yet now loomed large in our lives again. I saw a flicker of hope in Emma's eyes, a glimmer of the little girl whose laughter used to echo through my house. I know it's messy, I said softly, pleading with her to see. But we have time to change this narrative. She hesitated, caught between battles of fear and memories, but as I reached for her, yearning to encase her once more in solace, the laughter turned into an unsettling quiet, filling the room with a chill of uncertainty. Mom, Emma started to say, but before she could finish, the tension shattered as footsteps echoed from the shadows. More figures emerged, their intentions cloaked in darkness, a horde of unknown threats shuffling forward. Your time's up, Daniel said. But don't worry, we can still be family. I sprang forward without thought, merging instinct with desperation, reaching for Emma, determined to reclaim her from the darkness that threatened to consume us both. No. You do not get to claim her. As I lunged towards my daughter, adrenaline igniting my senses, everything around us felt surreal. For a brief moment, everything froze, time suspended as I felt the weight of her hand clasp against mine, unity shining brighter than the chaos swirling around us. A spark ignited between us, a recognition of the bond that would not sever. Within an instant, the back alley erupted into a storm of commotion. The officers charged forward, voices blaring directives as they pulled me and Emma behind them, creating a secure barrier against the oncoming threat. But amidst the confusion, Daniel's laughter echoed through the darkness, sharp against the tapestry of our reunion. You think you can keep her from me? Watch closely, this is far from over. The realization coursed through my veins. This was not just a confrontation but a war, one fueled by past choices now sealed in the fabric of our lives. I could feel the distance we needed to bridge, the connection between mother and daughter tested against the very threats that once sought to destroy us. And the storm of emotions, as sirens began to wail in the distance, the fight wasn't over. It was merely the beginning of a journey towards understanding, healing, and reclaiming the relationship that had been torn apart. With Emma at my side, a fierce determination burned in my heart, and at that moment, I knew I would fight with everything inside of me. No longer standing on the sidelines, I would shield her against the questions of our past and the dangers lurking in our present. Embracing the weight of our love meant more than fear, it meant fortifying our bond against the world. Together, we would reclaim our narrative, forging a future stitched with trust, fervor, and undying resilience. As I took Emma's hand firmly, the realization settled in: family wasn't bound to blood. Allenite was rooted in the unbreakable strength of love, even in the darkest of moments. And no matter how deep the darkness or how bitter the past, the light of a mother's love shines brighter than any shadow ever could. Finally, we stepped into the unknown together, the night resolving into an uncertain dawn, but a journey that would forever be ours to embrace. That day marked the beginning of our reckoning, a chance to reclaim everything we had fought so hard for. We are not alone, Emma, I whispered, feeling the surge of hope envelop us. We'll figure it out together. With that, the shadows began to fade, and as dawn approached, the tide of fate turned toward a light that we would willingly chase into the horizon, side by side ready to build a world anew.